Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and so I've been running games at the local game store. Looks like I might get drafted into running some games over at the library too, which sounds kind of exciting to tell you the truth. Not even sure what edition, probably fifth, I'm going to be running, or because I threw it out there. Hey, I'll run first, second, fifth, or Castles and Crusades, but we'll see. Anyway, at the game store, a little update to how things are going. We finished up module, I believe it's N1, the Against the Cult of the Reptile God. That worked out quite well, and we have started into a module that I read but never played back in middle school, which was a while ago. Let's just say that. I had UK2 and UK3, the Sentinel and the Gauntlet. And I intend to run those. We just started the Sentinel. And the thing is, running a first edition module for a second edition table, there are certain things you have to watch for. There are certain problems I kind of encountered. The first was the way the players wanted to go would have taken them straight from point A to point D without visiting B or C in between, and it would have killed a lot of the adventure. So I had to kind of gently guide them into multiple paths that kind of led them into point B. That was part of it. That's kind of part of how the module's set up, because point A and point D are geographically closer to each other than A and B. I did flub a little bit in which rumors from the citizens that they happen to hear as they're going into this village that has this horrible problem. How are you going to fix the horrible problem? Well, you got to set the adventures on the path. And I rolled randomly on the rumors table when I could have curated that a little bit better. Gave them a random encounter of wolves. Rolled that out. The ranger shown. He got his chance in the limelight because I rolled to see how many wolves there were. There was only two. The wolves kind of investigated only two wolves investigated the camp at night. They looked around. They saw that there's 4 humanoids, 2 mastiffs. They wanted really none of that fight because there's no point in them attacking. So he gets up close and he does his I'm a ranger and I'm going to try to do rangery, talk with animals kind of thing, and it was more along the lines of you can shift where they are on the not encounter, but on the chart for reaction, the reaction chart, from hostile to neutral to friendly, from friendly to really friendly, and it just kind of took them to okay, and the wolves took off. There's another wolf howling in the distance. Okay, that's where our buddy is. We're off to go meet our buddy. No combat was needed, but yet you had role play and you had problem solving. I like that. That was good. It was a nice way to let that particular character do some stuff and really show, hey, I can do cool things other than just swing a sword. Cool. They did their tracking. They went into a fort via the back door, a concealed entrance. They started fighting things on the way in. Mostly just unintelligent monsters that were just kind of placed there as traps. They dealt with puzzle solving, some of the stuff that had been left around, doing a little investigation. One thing that's kind of interesting about this module, UK2, the Sentinel, is that a lot of the monsters that are in there came out of Fiend Folio. And a lot of the Fiend Folio monsters never made it to second edition. Now, as a DM, I have 2 options that really stand out. One is I can adapt the first edition monsters into second edition, doing the work that wasn't done back in the day because they just didn't convert everything across. Not everything made the cut. When you had Monster Manual 1, Monster Manual 2, and Fiend Folio, and then for second edition you have a much thicker but singular monster manual, and then later on these monsters compendiums, which I don't have copies of. I just have the monster manual for 2e, and I have the 1e books. But anyway, Caterwall, Symbiotic Jelly, Zvorts, okay, Skulk. These things never made it into second edition. So I'm keeping the Skulk. The Caterwall and the Symbiotic Jelly, I just skipped that encounter. I didn't like it. I thought that encounter kind of, it just didn't really make the cut. The other option is what I'm going to do with the Zvorts. Now, Zvorts were in Fiend Folio. They're small humanoids, about 3 to 4 foot tall. They have overly large heads. They have 1/1 hit die, and they're blue. They attack with weapons. So short swords, daggers, that kind of thing. Okay, there's really no point in using them. There's nothing really that stands out about them. Whereas I can't just use goblins for the exact same thing. And looking at the module, the way they use the Zvorts, they're just blue goblins for all intents and purposes. I mean, there's some background lore, but that doesn't affect the module. That doesn't affect the game. So I can just swap out goblins, and that's what I'm going to do. So they haven't encountered them yet, but they have heard about them. There may be a difference in intelligence between Zvorts and goblins, and that's about it. But not enough where it really matters. So that's what I'm doing. I'm running UK2, the Sentinel. I intend to run UK3, the Gauntlet, right afterwards. And I do intend on modifying them both as needed. The Merchant that was in the encounters provided for the Sentinel, skipped it. I didn't feel I needed it. The old man, the monk, I intend on using him because that's going to be something important. And that's where I'm at on that game. For the library game, I'm really undecided in what I want to run. I have several good choices, but first the table has to coalesce because the person who's organizing this, they say they have 27 players. They say some number, I don't know how many, of those 27 are willing to DM. And we'll just see what works with who shows up and what they actually want to play. I'm assuming they want to play 5e, but hey, I threw out my options. Anywho, that's it for today. DM Kurt out.